On winter nights, the most recognizable constellation in the whole sky climbs over the horizon, a great figure of stars with a bright belt of 3 at his waist, striding across the heavens. We call him Orion, the hunter, and he has been called that for thousands of years, in culture after culture. But the Greeks had a story about who that hunter was and how he came to be fixed forever among the stars. And it is a story about the greatest hunter who ever lived, brought down by the smallest and strangest of enemies. Orion was a giant, a son of the sea god, mighty beyond any mortal, who boasted that there was no creature on earth he could not kill. And to answer that boast, the earth itself sent something against him, not a lion or a bull or a monster, but a creature he never thought to fear. How does the greatest hunter in the world meet his end, and why are he and his killer placed on opposite sides of the sky, forever chasing each other? That is the question at the heart of this story. So tonight you'll hear the real tale of Orion, the giant hunter, the fatal boast, the creature that answered it, and the constellations that still remember them both. If you enjoy these stories, take a moment to subscribe. It genuinely keeps this channel alive, and tell me in the comments which myth you'd like next. Now settle in and look up at the hunter in the sky. Orion was no ordinary man. He was a giant of immense size and strength, and, according to the oldest stories, he was a son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. And from his divine father, he had received a remarkable gift, the ability to walk upon the surface of the water, striding across the waves as easily as a man crosses a field. He was the greatest hunter the world had ever known, towering and powerful, able to track and bring down any beast that walked or crawled or flew. He roamed the wild places with his hunting dogs, and no quarry could escape him. The Greeks pictured him as a magnificent figure, huge, handsome, mighty, armed with a great club and a sword, the very image of the perfect hunter. Stories gathered around him, as they do around such figures. He cleared whole islands of their wild beasts. He pursued the cluster of stars known as the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, across the sky. He was loved at various times by goddesses, including the Dawn herself. He was, in short, larger than life in every way, a hero of the hunt whose skill and strength seemed to have no limit at all. And that, in the world of the Greek gods, is always a dangerous place for a mortal to find himself, because a man who seems to have no limits is a man who will eventually test them. Of all the bonds in Orion's life, the most important was his friendship with the goddess Artemis, the divine huntress, the sister of Apollo, the goddess of the wild and the chase. Artemis was famously aloof from men, sworn to her independence, surrounded by her band of huntresses and tolerant of almost no male company. But in Orion, she found something rare, a companion who shared her one great passion. The two of them hunted together across the wild lands, the goddess of the hunt and the greatest mortal hunter, and a genuine friendship grew between them, the kind of easy, joyful companionship of two people who love the same thing and are both supremely good at it. For Artemis, who kept almost everyone at a distance, this was no small thing. Some of the old stories even suggest that the goddess came to care for Orion more deeply than friendship, that there might have been the beginnings of something more between the huntress who loved no one and the hunter who can match her stride for stride in the wild. Whether or not that is true, it matters for what comes later, because it means that when Orion finally fell, it was not a stranger who mourned him, but the goddess who had hunted at his side. But before the fall came, the boast, the moment of pride that set everything in motion. Orion's downfall, like so many in these stories, began with his own mouth. Flushed with his endless successes, proud of a skill that truly had no equal among mortals, Orion made a boast, and it was exactly the kind of boast the gods could not let pass. He declared that he was so great a hunter that he could kill every wild animal on the face of the earth. Every beast, every creature, all of them, there was nothing alive that he could not hunt down and destroy. It was a statement of breathtaking arrogance, and it was the kind of claim that, to the Greek mind, crossed a sacred line. For the wild animals were not merely Orion's prey, they were part of the natural order, creatures of the earth herself, under the care of the gods. To boast of exterminating all of them was not just pride, it was a threat against the balance of the living world, an offense against the earth and the powers that watched over it. And the earth was listening. The Greeks called her Gaia, the Great Mother, the living ground beneath everyone's feet, the source and keeper of all wild things. When Gaia heard Orion's boast that he would slaughter every creature she had brought forth, she was angered and she resolved to answer him. And the answer she chose was a masterstroke of grim irony. Gaia did not send a great beast against Orion. Not a lion, not a bull, not some towering monster for the giant hunter to grapple with in a glorious battle. That would have been to play to his strength, to give him exactly the kind of fight he excelled at. Instead, the earth sent something small. She brought forth a scorpion, a single creature, low to the ground, easy to overlook, nothing at all like the mighty quarry Orion was used to facing. But this was no ordinary scorpion. It was a giant of its kind, sent by the earth herself, with armor that could not be pierced and a sting that carried certain death, and it had one purpose: to hunt down the hunter who had boasted that he could kill anything. There was a deep and deliberate irony in the choice. The greatest hunter in the world, who had bragged that no animal could stand against him, would be brought down not by a worthy opponent, but by a small, scuttling creature he would never have thought to fear, the kind of thing beneath the notice of a man who hunted lions. Gaia's answer to his boast was, in effect, "You say you can kill any beast? Then let us see you face this one." And the scorpion set out, relentless and unstoppable, to find Orion. And now the hunter became the hunted. The scorpion came for Orion, and for all his size and strength and skill, he found that he could not deal with it. His great club was useless against its armored shell. His sword could not pierce it. Everything that had made him the terror of the wild was no help at all against this small, implacable creature that the earth had sent. For the first time in his life, Orion faced an enemy he could not defeat, and, at last, an enemy he could not escape. The old stories tell it in different ways. In some, Orion fought the scorpion and was stung, the venom bringing down even his giant frame. In others, realizing he could not win, the great hunter who could walk on water fled into the sea, striding out across the waves to escape the creature that pursued him. But there was no escaping what the earth had set in motion. Whether by the scorpion's sting on land or by another stroke of fate out on the water, the boast of Orion was answered in full. The mightiest hunter the world had ever known, who had sworn that no creature could stand against him, was brought down and killed, undone by the smallest of the very animals he had bragged of being able to slaughter. Gaia had made her point, completely and finally. And on the earth and in the heavens, Orion's death did not go unmourned. It was Artemis, the goddess who had hunted at his side, who grieved for Orion most deeply. In some tellings, indeed, the goddess is bound up with his death, a version in which her brother Apollo, disapproving of her closeness to the hunter, tricked Artemis into killing Orion herself, challenging her to strike a distant target far out in the sea that she did not realize was the head of her swimming friend, so that the goddess, with her unerring aim, unknowingly slew the man she cared for. Whether Orion fell to the scorpion or to that cruel deception, the grief of Artemis was the same. The goddess who kept the whole world at a distance had lost the one mortal companion she had ever truly let close, and she mourned him bitterly. And because she was a goddess, she could do something about his death that ordinary mourners cannot. She could not bring Orion back to life, not even the gods could undo death itself. But she could make certain that he was never forgotten, that the greatest hunter who ever lived would be honored for all time, visible to every generation that came after. And so Artemis, or Zeus moved by her grief, lifted Orion up out of death and set him where everyone, forever, would be able to see him, among the stars. Orion was placed in the sky as a constellation, the great striding hunter we still know by his name, one of the brightest and most recognizable patterns in the heavens, with his famous belt of 3 stars at the center and his hunting dogs at his heels among the surrounding stars. There he strides across the night sky, season after season, the eternal hunter, exactly as Artemis wished, never forgotten, seen by every people in every age who has ever looked up. But the scorpion was honored too. For the creature that had brought down the great hunter was also set among the stars, becoming the constellation, Scorpius, the scorpion. And here the Greeks added a final, beautiful touch that you can still verify with your own eyes on any clear night. The gods placed Orion and the scorpion on opposite sides of the sky so that the two of them are never visible at the same time. As the scorpion rises in the east, Orion flees below the horizon in the west, and when the scorpion sets, Orion climbs back into the sky once more. Forever, across the turning year, the hunter and the creature that killed him chase each other around the heavens, the one always sinking away as the other appears, so that even in death, even among the stars, Orion still flees the scorpion he could not defeat. The story of Orion is, in the end, a story about limits and about what happens to those who believe they have none. Orion was genuinely magnificent. His skill as a hunter was real, his strength was real, his greatness was no illusion. The Greeks did not punish him for being weak or foolish, they punished him for being great and forgetting that even greatness has a boundary. His fatal error was the boast, the moment he declared that there was nothing he could not kill, that his power extended without limit, that the natural order held no master. He need respect. And the form of his punishment was a lesson in humility delivered with perfect precision. The man who could kill anything was killed by something tiny, something beneath his notice, to show him and everyone else that no one, however mighty, is truly without limits. And yet, there is also a strange tenderness in how it ends. Orion was not simply destroyed and forgotten. He was mourned by a goddess and lifted into the stars and given a kind of immortality after all, not the immortality of never dying, but the immortality of being remembered, of striding across the winter sky for thousands of years for every human being to see. We still look up and know his name. Perhaps that is the truest kind of afterlife the Greeks could imagine, not to escape death, but to become a light that the living go on looking up to long after you are gone. If this is the kind of story you want more of, take a moment to subscribe and tell me in the comments which myth I should tell next. Sleep well.